All right, you demented moles. It's time to dust off your starter jackets, rip off those tearaways, and blow into your game cartridges. I'm Sam Blanford, going in like a truck.
I'm Simon Blanford, with the kick.
And I'm Sean Kelly. Hi, maybe a bit too far. And we wish it was the 90s. Well, it's been a long time between drinks, but here we are for our second episode on Jonah, Lomu Rugby, the tournament preview. But before you get too excited about squashing. Leave that in. Smashing, square and circle really fast. Unless you're a purist or something. Oh, I lost a couple of listeners just then. Sorry, boys. Just wanted to acknowledge our sponsors for the event up the top, Accountants Plus and Panhead. My suggestion to you is you sign up with Accountants Plus, so instead of doing your accounts, you can enjoy a Panhead.
Nice.
We've arranged a tournament looking like a 20-team, 4 pools of 5 competition, and I guess we wanted to do a little bit of a preview, discuss a bit of the some of the what's been going on, and I guess before we get stuck in, we should send in apologies for Pat, who couldn't make it because he is literally building something for this tournament.
I thought he was plugging in 58 different chords down at the cricket club.
Yeah, it's hope one of the competitors is a Sparky.
Yeah, it's doing God's work down there, and we appreciate it.
So we're gonna touch on the rules. We won't go through all of them. Talk a little bit about the format. Maybe a little bit on who we suspect might be favourites, and maybe even some predictions. And I'm going to renew the best team debate because I've come into some information.
Looking forward to hearing that analysis.
But before we get stuck in, how's everyone feeling about it?
I'm desperately hoping that we get 20 players so I don't have to play.
Yeah. Well, we are sitting at 17. We've got about 3 or 4 maybes. And we won't go over 20. And we'd like Simon to compete on behalf of the podcast, wouldn't we?
I thought it was going to be you, Sean.
News to me.
I'm the tournament director. Cut my.
I'll be the first reserve. How about that? We don't want to take away the joy of competing for any of our loyal listeners.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Look, unless we want a Wish It Was the 90s member to get a paddling, we don't want me competing.
I mean, it would be pretty sweet for the fans. And I do worry about my concern is I may or may not have been a little bit vocal on the socials, and I'm worried that if I play, I'll instantly be tournament villain.
You are definitely the tournament heel, regardless of whether you play or not.
Yeah, I'm worse than Susie.
I feel like there'll be quite a few tournament heels as the night goes on, to be honest with you. I think it'll be separate them all. But one will emerge victorious as the tournament heel.
I feel like your discussion about your comments on social media, Sean, lead quite well into the rules debate, because there's been a little bit of conversation around the rules.
How dare you throw me in the deep end? That was our Wish It Was the 90s bot.
No, that was Pat. Is he here? No, fuck him.
Good point. I've actually got the rules right in front of me. So I think just quickly, before we get into everyone blowing up in the Slacks about some of those more controversial ones. So the pre-game rock paper scissors. I think what we all sort of agreed on was, and for some people this is quite a big deal. So winning, you get to pick first. Obviously, we've ruled out New Zealand, but then losing the toss isn't the worst thing because you get to choose whether you're going to be player 1 or player 2. And for someone who's been at home training on their own, player 1's going to be quite important to them because of the colour coordination.
But also, isn't there a better way to go if you're on East Terrace in regards to your kicking? Or is it just a better side to score on makes it a harder kick?
Kick longer from left to right on East Terrace.
Really?
Yeah, and also longer if you're going from south to north on the better view. But it doesn't really matter, right? Because half time you switch up anyway.
And so I guess the other key thing that we've put in the pre-match rules is that the players can actually agree to change any of the rules except for the non-negotiable rules. So that means if for some reason you want to play a different view, or you don't want square circle rucks, or you do want bunting, and both players agree to it, then you can do it.
I thought bunting was a non-negotiable.
Nah, you can negotiate bunting in. Who's going to do that? I'd love to see someone aggressively debate having bunting in the game.
Well, I might have to put my foot down on that one. That's bunting is.
I thought it was a non-negotiable.
Nah, it's just in bold though, because it's like, it's like man-cads.
There's no place for that in our game, and I won't stand for that sort of thing.
And so there's only a few non-negotiables. Some of them aren't really that important, but all of the pools have a designated stadium you've got to play at. You've got to select random weather. You've got to select the correct time for the game, which probably looking like 5 minutes for pool play, maybe 7 minutes for the playoffs. Nobody can beat New Zealand, and any of the rules that are covered in the official Jonah Lomu Rugby manual are allowed and can't be ruled out, including the 7-metre sidestep.
Great.
But there's no running in lineouts, no quick throws behind the goal, and no kicking back of penalties.
The real glitches.
The TAB is paying $1.45 for a drunken action cam game at some point.
Is it a compulsory wooden spoon match action cam?
Just sense at some point someone's just going to have a few too many and suggest action cam, and everyone's going to think it's a great idea. And as usual, after 2 minutes, everyone's regretting it.
I mean, we are really courting, I don't know, controversy or potential blow-ups, or I guess we're encouraging dangerous behaviour by having Panhead as a sponsor. If there's a few superchargers going down, there could be a few brawls.
And I love Supercharger, one of the great drops, but dangerous, so I'll try not to be having too many of those.
Yeah, and so I guess the negotiables, we've already decided maybe bunting will move out of that section. I'm okay with that. I guess it could probably be put into the glitches section, to be honest.
Yep.
So offloads are allowed, lifting in the lineouts are allowed, and controversially, square circle rucks are allowed.
Very controversial.
That's the only point of contention I have written down on my notes is square circle rucks.
Someone in the Slacks wasn't happy about the lifting in the lineouts either.
What?
Without lifting in the lineouts, I've got nothing. My lineout is undefeated.
If I'm not lifting in the lineouts, I'm throwing short to the prop every time.
Oh, boo-goo. Yeah, no, look, I don't love the square circles just from the controllers might be in a horrendous condition by the end of the night because they already are in horrendous condition.
Sure.
But yeah, I know Hayden O'Toole was very disappointed.
One thing to take note, just for our organisation here, could be worth just going around and getting a general consensus on which controllers are in the best nick, and then to use those for the championship bracket. To use the best controllers for those big games. Just something worth thinking about.
I think the other thing that, and I know I've voiced this a lot in the chat with my paranoia about technology letting us down. Sometimes you don't know your controller's not working until you're deep into a game. You just think your fins weren't working, and all of a sudden, I've been trying to catch up with the sponsor of the podcast, Jace Toy, who's not competing but coming down, and promised me he'd lend me his controllers so I could train in case I had to play, but hasn't happened yet. And yeah, if I was to play, I'd be pretty nervous.
I had a few questions around the well, I didn't have a few questions. There was someone who was competing who had a few questions around the format and how that's going to look in regards to what happens if they do get through and what happens when they don't get through.
And the format.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about this. I had a pretty good chat with guest of the podcast, Marty T, about the format. And as it stands currently, we proposed a major section, a minor section, or a plate section, as you were, and obviously the horse's ass wooden spoon. I'm wondering if perhaps if you don't make the quarterfinals of the major section, you may have lost a little bit of interest.
Yeah, I think you just have to worry about last place. That's all. You don't if you got last in your pool, that you might have to continue, and that's about it. If you got third and you're out, you can just get out. I think
there will be opportunities to continue playing friendlies if you want.
Sure. Yep.
As everyone will be taking up.
And that'll take a lot of pressure off us in terms of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, if someone has had enough, you don't want to force them to play.
Unless they got last in their pool.
Obviously.
Because they need to, face the music.
So I guess we'll talk about that quickly. So we're going top 2 from each pool into quarterfinals. And the top team from each pool will get to play their quarterfinal at their home ground.
Oh, what an advantage!
And then so they'll be around there. Then we'll have the first round of the wooden spoon, which is obviously straight semis. Loser stays on.
Yep.
And then we'll have the semis. Then we'll have the wooden spoon horse's ass. And then the grand finale, which we've outlined. All PlayStations must be turned off for the final. Big crowd atmosphere.
It's going to be huge.
So you speak of the horse's ass. Have you got some people lined up for that?
Yeah, who do you think it's going to be? I've got some names, but I'm not entirely sure. Bob, and your group, who are the weakest players?
Well, it's hard to say. There's in my group of friends, there's a lot of reservation around, being out of the game for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, if you still got it, sure.
And I think the really interesting thing that probably harks back to the square circle controversy is, are your fingers as fast as they were when you were 10 years old?
It's an insecurity we've all got.
I've got a bad case of arthritis, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, so if Stratis decides to play,
yep,
he's definitely my number one contender for the spoon.
I guess I've got 3 names down for horse's ass here.
One of them Stratis.
These aren't my This is not my final prediction, but one of them is Stratis.
I just want to touch on why. I picked Stratis.
Okay.
When we were on an indoor cricket trip as Colts, having a few laughs, famous cricketers such as Ronald Cristiano Jr. Ash Russell and the likes. We were just sitting in a room quoting Lomus, as you do, especially when you're younger. And Stratty's piped in with a, he's knocked it on. I think you'll find, Stratty's, there's no knock-ons in Lomus.
Never a good sign.
That's a straight horse's ass. My other two were George Bevan, who's very concerned about his Lomu's quality, and just a wild card, Cam Fenton. Absolutely no idea what he's like, but he's from Palmerston North. He talks a big game.
Lower quality of talent in Palmerston North.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, I have heard that. I have heard that about the Palmerston North. In fact, the entire Manawatu system.
A lot of pressure on Fento, actually, to represent them with a little bit of pride.
I will say this about Fento, though. He's the kind of guy that would probably still have it. So he could be training.
I feel like he's got a good kicking game.
They love a Gary Owen.
I didn't. Speaking of Gary Owens, I didn't put it in, but there have been some comments about maybe just privately about the forward Gary Owen not being allowed. I thought that was absurd.
Oh, if you allow the back Gary Owen, you allow the forward one. I'm anti Garys in general, but that's part of the game, and that's what it is. What it is. What about favourites, Bob? Talked about a few of those possible last place.
Now, hang on. Surely Telfer's a horse's ass.
Nah, Mark revealed to me that he spent most of year 12 and 13 playing Lomus just during school hours.
I'm just have a quick look at the list.
My favourites. Sorry, just while you're looking at the list, I've witnessed Cam Porlock play, and he's a solid unit. Not much gets him rattled, and not actually on the 17 is Matt Rarity, who's a maybe. And Matt Rarity, I've heard, is quite a good Lomu's player. So hopefully he heeds my call and comes and joins us. But
from the same contingent, I'm hearing a lot of Todd McSweeney buzz.
I was keen to chime in on Todd there, but what have you heard?
Tom Robertson, player. Robinson, sorry, Tom Robinson. Caught up with Tom Robertson Saturday night, but Tom Robinson at football on Saturday, Tony Stonecutters was just extolling Todd's virtues as a Lomu's player, and I can't really comment on that, obviously not having played against him. But
did you ask Robbie Man if he's coming?
No, he was no good. He said he was not any good at Lomus, so
he's going to come have some beers.
Yeah, a few beers. But yeah,
very good. Congratulations, Robbie.
Absolutely, well done, Sean.
Yeah, so on Toddy, I think I mentioned this in the first one. He was always a slow starter. Took a little while to find his rhythm, and by end of tournament, he was always really good. He said to me after listening to the first episode, "Please don't talk me up ever again." And I do wonder, if he's a slow starter when he's a semi-regular player, how long is it going to take to find his groove?
Does he have the luxury of starting slow in a high-stakes tournament like this, is the question. I think from his perspective, it'll come down to the draw. If he pulls the strategies early, good way to find the rhythm.
The draw is actually going to be really important. I think there could be like 5 mint players in one pool just because we're pulling them out.
And we can't, like someone said, you're going to seed, and you can't seed because we can't compare.
No, you can't seed. You can seed for a tournament in 2 years' time or something based on this year's, but no, you certainly can't seed.
So a couple of people I'd like to mention in the favourites category. I think Rian's a dark horse. We know he's been playing, but he grew up in the Republic, so we don't know what the standard is over there. Probably lots of kicking.
Very low.
He won't have the same distance on his kicks over here, obviously. But yeah, an avid fan. Jerry Wilson. Certainly still a gamer, still a PlayStation gamer.
Something to be said for that. Not in life in general, but just on it.
He himself, Scott Jones, another competitor, and someone who would be competing if he was in the country, Tony Long, have a tri-series test match. I don't know what's the main PlayStation cricket game.
Game Wars 99.
That's slightly newer.
Definitely don't know.
Cricket 96.
That's not how time works.
Cricket Captain 92.
What is that? Ashes? Is there an Ashes one or?
No idea.
But they engage in that regularly, like long distance online cricket. Like these guys. I mean, obviously, it's a completely different game, and we've seen many times how being good at cricket won't translate to rugby. But just that lifelong gamership. And I wanted to throw one more out there.
What about Woody?
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly showing a lot of enthusiasm.
I hear he's been doing finger exercises.
We know he's been doing finger exercises. We've seen it.
Yeah. Obviously, he's well and truly aware of the square circle situation.
Have you got one more name before we go into these interesting statistics that I'm fascinated to hear about?
I don't want to name him because he's not in the list yet, and I'm working on it, and he's slightly high profile, so I don't want to throw him in it. But
we'll chuck it on the social if we get this person nailed down.
Tell a little tale. I was at the back end of a great Otaki wedding, and this quite famous person was delivering what I would consider to be quite a motivational speech to a group of drunk patrons, including myself. And it was around how it doesn't matter who you are, you can always enter a room and know that you're the best at something in that room. You're the best. And he went around the circle. What are you good at? What are you good at? And he came to me and he said, what are you good at? And I was absolutely panicking. Jonah, Lomu Rugby. And he just complete change of tone. Nah, I'd smash you, bro. So maybe I'll send him this episode to get him geared up for it, because I hope he plays. We're running out of spots.
So what about these stats? Have you got empirical evidence about team data?
Yeah.
This isn't ET's Rugby League where you can change the sliders.
Yeah, what is this?
All right. Let me just quickly log into my wish it was the 90s Instagram account.
Yeah, there was a comment on the Instagram account from somebody.
Yeah, so we posted, and I actually like to do a little plug here for the Facebook page, JL Rugby NZ. So I had a bit of a chat with Chris, who runs that page, and what he does is you can go to his page and then go to his Patreon, and he does mods of Jonah Lomu Rugby.
Wow.
And for the people at home, is a modification.
So what he's done is, because it's for PC, he's got the DOS version, but he's built in support, so it plays the same way as the PlayStation 1.
Wow.
And what he's also done is he's put in modern teams, modern competitions, so you can play Super Rugby Pacific, or you can play the NPC. You can play whatever that competition they play in the UK is for Fat Unco forwards.
Heineken Cup or something.
Can I play as Marty Holler?
You can, because he might be in it from a classic match point of view, but also you can, if you want to up your Patreon donation he'll make a player for you.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So what he said, he listened to the pod, and he said, I recall there was a debate over which teams were better. Hopefully this settles it.
Oh.
And so what he's done is he's used the in-game statistics for each player and given each team a rating out of 100.
How have you not led with this? This should be the lead thing.
This is outrageous.
A few surprises in there before we get to the top. On bottom, 41.97, Malaysia.
Oh, I was going to say Thailand.
Surprises.
No, surprisingly much higher. Second to last, the Ivorian Coasters.
Oh, bonito.
And third to last, Canada.
That is a shock.
Yeah. Below such proud rugby nations as Sri Lanka, Hong Kong, Singapore, Portugal, the Netherlands, Spain, Romania, Thailand. Like Thailand's like, I don't know, at least 12, 13, 14 from bottom. They're just underneath Tonga.
Did you say Romania?
Did you forget they were in there?
I didn't know. I didn't hear you say them, and I thought, are they higher?
One of your favourite Romanians.
The Romanians are higher than the States.
Nicodian.
And just before I get into the top area, some interesting things I thought. So the best team outside of your nations is the Rage All Stars with a 99.07 rating. And you've got to say that 0.93 is probably just when Mather loses steam.
Yeah.
Second is Team Lomu, 95.54. And then it gets into some of the countries, so I'll come back to it. About, I don't know, 7 or 8 down, you've got the Barbarians in the World 15, pretty close to each other.
I remember those teams at all existing.
They're in the Territories Cup you unlock after you beat all of them with the British Lions.
We definitely talked about this on the last podcast.
Sorry.
And the British Lions are appropriately quite low because they're just junk and unco as well.
Rugby.
But so you've got Rage All Stars and Team Lomu 1 and 2, and then like 15 or 20 down, you've got the Codemasters.
It's a terrible unit.
So, a couple of things. Surprised how close the top, 4 teams are.
Are we surprised though?
Let's hear them.
I'm surprised the top nation isn't quite far ahead.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So New Zealand's 89.13.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you guys reckon is the second best team statistically speaking?
Well, I think it will be a team that's actually not the second best team in my eyes. I would guess the second best team statistically is Australia.
I reckon I'm going on Pat's theory. Statistically, South Africa, because it would be based off. 95. We thought it might be based off the 95 World Cup.
Fair.
Simon's right. 87.34 Australia.
Woof.
And then England, 85.22.
Yep.
Yeah, not surprised.
Then South Africa, 84.99. And then France 82.88. I do wonder, and I will ask, I'll ask my mate Chris about this. Do these stats factor in things like turbo? Because England's not your team for a 15-minute game.
We have to get Chris on. Ask these questions, how these equations were thought of. But that doesn't, I know we don't want to speak for much longer, but the Australia thing, I think everyone agrees they're a good side, but the problem, as we discussed in the last pod, is mistaking Burke for Smith. Like, that doesn't take into consideration that, right?
Yeah. Whereas with England, you can be reasonably confident you've got Underwood.
Oh, 100% confident.
And if you don't, slight Holmes mint.
And I guess with South Africa and the way they picked their teams back then, it was not hard to identify Chester.
Williams.
Just had another competitor say he's in, just popped up on my phone, so it's very exciting.
18 spots are running out.
18. Here we go.
That's great. I would personally, if Chris has it, and if we can get him on, the last thing I'd like to know is, I'd just like to know like individual attributes. So like, who are the fastest guys in the game?
Actually, on his page about it.
Is there a fending attribute, or is it like a strength attribute? Like, what is the? It really, really opened up a lot of questions for me.
Got to get Chris on the pod.
Listen to some of these classic matches he's running. The 2017 Premiership Final, the 2014 Super Rugby Final, the 1985 Ranfurly Shield, 2020 North versus South.
No, it needs the infamous Wellington Canterbury Ranfurly Shield, where Ben Blair scores after they received 39 penalties in the second half.
I'd prefer the 2000 NPC final where Dion Waller got yellow carded and stopping tries to win Wellington the trophy.
Still, they probably should have been a penalty try, but we'll take it.
I'd also like love. I think it's 97. There's a semi-final where counties are playing Waikato, and at half time, the announcer at the ground at Waikato Stadium starts advertising the grand final because they were top qualifier. Well, they were the top qualifier of the two for the following week. And an Errol Brain-led counties comeback in the second half took counties to the final.
Your Jim Coe is probably... what a team. Bob, do you want to... do we need to give any more details about it, about the actual tournament itself? I think it's all pretty much well over our socials and stuff, eh?
Yeah, June 30th at the Petone Riverside Cricket Club. Doors open at 6 for a 1.5 hour warm-up period. Players to get their fingers going. And then at 7:30 we'll get into the opening ceremony with a 8 p.m. kickoff and a 10 p.m. final.
Please let us know you're coming. You know what? We're not going to kick anybody out if you don't, but just out of courtesy, let us know you're coming so we can cater for you. You know, getting some food and drinks and stuff. So just let us know on the Facebook page, and then we can cater appropriately.
All right, final predictions. Simon, I need a winner and a horse's ass from you.
Just because it's pissed him off. As Sean said, I'll go Todd as the winner. Just because he's requested not for us to talk him up. He's our favourite for me. Horse's ass, really tricky. But I think after finding out that Stratties didn't know that knock-ons were not a thing in Lomu, that's hard to go past. So that's my horse's ass. Love you, Stratties, but that's my horse's ass.
Yeah, Stratty's only a maybe at this stage, so we might have talked him out of it.
Let's not send him this pod.
I'm going to go with Pollock, my Manly Sea Eagles jersey brother, and as my winner. And I'm going to go my horse's ass as George Bevan because I'd really like to see it.
All right. Todd McSweeney's written down here for me as favourite for me, predicted winner. And my horse's ass hasn't been mentioned yet. Huddy Sports, Brad Hudson.
Hey, yeah, Brad. It's a wild card. Never seen Brad play.
That's why. Never seen him play. He obviously is such a big rugby man and does such great stuff in the realm of Wellington rugby. But when I talked to him, I didn't gather how good he was. I didn't. He seemed a bit iffy about actually playing the game, but he's keen as mustard, which all lines up great for a horse's ass.
Brad and I were quite good friends at primary school, and I don't remember ever playing against him. And certainly we also we did 10 of my 12 schooling years together, those 10 being the Catholic years. And he didn't manage to make his way into the Super Six, as we called it at the time.
Neither did Pat.
Mm.
Or old Pat.
Yeah, I might close. I'm keen to sign off with a couple of disclaimers. This isn't a 2001 Jonah Lomu's PlayStation tournament, so unfortunately there will be no nude letterboxing. Undecided on the porn.
And have to wear clothes.
Yeah. Or watching
I
porn.
heard rumours that the trophy is literally the Gala Cup from Friends.
I've heard that rumour too. Is there anything else we need to cover off? Not just that the paddling, the wooden spoon, is a tradition that we're carrying over from the Pinehaven Cricket National Champs, which was competed for every Easter for 10 years at Pinehaven School.
And from the Stonecutters episode, of course.
Obviously. And I've never been so excited in my life. I've stopped going out, stopped doing things, just to make sure that I am absolutely primed for this.
30th of June. Be there. Can't wait for it.
Arbizu.